Hello my good friends, this is Chaos Angel here, also known as Lord Omni, and I'm back at it again with another video discussion for you guys. And here we're going to be talking about the flippin' video that is the official benchmark for Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker. Now this has had a chock full of freaking stuff to really delve into and so on and so forth, and I have a lot of shit I want to say about it. Let me tell you right now. But anyway, we're just gonna get into the nitty-gritty of this and just quick dive into all of the things that we have seen, but more so going to go into detail on some of the skills that we have found that are brand new to tease for the job and what we will be expecting when come time for the job actions trailer, which will most likely be dropping mid-September, as it has been confirmed that the media tour as well as the live letter where they will be displaying said trailer will be happening at that point. But other than that, let's go ahead and get into this benchmark, shall we? So at the very beginning of this benchmark, I have no idea whether or not if I'm the only one who thought or felt or realized for some strange apparent reason when they started this video, as it was getting closer and closer in this scene, this scenery, this shot, this very environment, cutting into not even cutting, but panning to literally 3 Magitechs. How is it that this made me feel like this was supposed to be a tease onto a Final Fantasy VI reference with the opening? I could not be the only one. But other than that, we get to see the whole entire war that is going on against the Telepharoi, with how we are facing new enemy types or variants of existing models that we would normally face in like dungeons, trials, or just trash mobs or anything of that nature. But these are essentially the terminus beasts that we will be facing come in Endwalker. But the one curious thing about it is that the terminus beasts are literally beating the ever-living shit out of the Garleans, and we are actually helping the Garleans, which in the long run makes some sense. I mean, considering the fact that we are literally going in a whole entire freaking end of days type thing, like literally the final days, and everyone is going to be dying if this thing actually comes to be. It would make a lot of sense that we would disregard our enemies and actually ally with them. And at the very least, I'm pretty sure the Garleans won't want to freaking ally with the nonsensical nonsense that is the Telepharoi, who is just trying to fuck shit up. So in this mind, it's not entirely surprising that the Garleans, as far as in this shot that we see with the Garleans literally posting up with the Warrior of Light, it's a very interesting sight to see. I can definitely say that much for certain. Other than that, we move on into Old Sharlayan. Now, I did not forget to actually point out when it came to the animation with Warrior of Light. I will get into that later, but that is more so for all of the other jobs. But let's just talk about Old Sharlayan. Look at just how beautiful this place is. Look at how beautiful this place is. Seriously. For the love of all that is holy. And then we also see our boy Alphino freaking studying up a storm. It's very unique when it comes to the benchmark that we're seeing like so many scenes with all the other characters, starting with Alphino and so on and so forth, in his new drip that is the freaking Sage Gear. Yes. But we're not going to be staying on that for long, as we have a lot of abilities to check out when it comes to this next scene, with the battle in Garlemald, facing many of the terminus beasts that they have to show off. This new snake variant, like multiple snake head variants, and then we first see the first skill with Warrior literally just throwing their damn axe and just clawing the ever-living shit out of this monster. Like, Jesus, it's so freaking savage. Now, I can't really tell whether or not if that was entirely an AoE. It most likely could be due to the last hit of it, but it is still up to speculations. Other than that, we move on to the Samurai, which is all obvious a Shoha ability that is most likely an AoE. So whenever we actually get our meditation stacks, we will be able to use this ability for AoE purposes. other than just the single target. And this makes a lot more sense that they will be giving us this kind of ability next in the long run. This definitely makes a lot more sense when you think about it. And then we have freaking Dancer with a new step ability. As you can see from the background, you can actually check and see Alphino. He was actually in this scene right here. This is actually the first time we get to see him in combat. It wasn't later when we get to see him doing a heal, but it's actually earlier on. With our focus literally being taken by the monk using a sort of 3-kick AoE attack. I can only imagine that is most likely an AoE due to the fact that it's circling around the monk 3 times, other than it just being a single target. I can only imagine this was probably a tornado kick variant, probably going to be tied with tornado kick, or it can be a standalone cooldown. We will have to wait and see. As we are moving along, a random white mage in its nice looking AF5 gear is literally running across, and then we get to Dark Knight and Paladin. Dark Knight literally freaking bringing its sword up, posing as if it's like doing a freaking gunbreaker ability. Like straight up looks like it was doing Superboli just now with the animation, but has its own freaking effect like it's doing an upgraded Blackest Night. And then you got freaking Paladin with a new type of buff of some kind. Probably a shield, a new type of shield ability. One thing that I can imagine is that it's most likely a Sheltron upgrade. We can never really know. We'll have to wait and see. The overall animation of it seems very, very similar in some ways. Just looks way more pristine and way more shiny. Holy crap, so much more shiny. We then cut to the ninja using a most likely a single target attack with it shooting out a clone. It seems so reminiscent to that of like Boruto in some ways that I can actually think of in some ways. His when released Boruto stream attack, for what I can think of, where you're literally just propelling a shadow clone into the enemy with some kind of wind attack. It just that was literally the first thing that came to mind when I fucking saw that shit. Then obviously freaking Estinian being Estinian as per usual, freaking star diving into shit. Oh my god, I swear I can't get tired of it. We then cut away to an attack from far away. It looks as if this effect is probably a heat blast. For what I can imagine, it seems very similar. I can't really think of that being anything but just a trailer trick. But given that, we do cut away to the Machinist and the Red Mage in their new AF gear, with the Machinist being the actual Bunny Boys. And then we also take a look at the Red Mage. For what it seems like, and due to its animation, I can only imagine this actually being a red mage spell than an actual black mage spell. But I could definitely say that when it comes to the actual animation of itself, one thing that's very peculiar is the multiple blades that are around the actual enemy that triggers these electrifying attacks that is pretty much being dished out onto the enemy. One thing that I just couldn't freaking believe that I would actually see is the Machinist literally freaking pulling out a shotgun. We then pan over to the Black Mages, as we have both a random Black Mage and Ishtola using their Fire 4s, or what could most likely be Fire 5. With how big of an explosion it actually brings out, this animation is wholly different from what we have seen so far. One curious thing about it is that before we actually saw this, there was a despair that actually went off. So I can only imagine that this is probably either a follow-up or it could be just a new skill entirely. We then move on to everyone literally coming into the fight. We see everyone from the actual Grand Companies, as well as many of the other allies of Resistance and so on and so forth. But one thing that we were definitely not expecting to see was this son of a thousand fathers, freaking Omega, or an Omega variant. that was most likely created from by the Garleans. We got to remember that when it came to it, Omega was definitely something of an enigma when it came to the Alligans, and due to the fact of the interest of many wanting to harness that power, I can only imagine that the Garleans were able to actually create a variant of Omega, as this isn't the true Omega that we all know. This is definitely something of Garlean make that was pretty much made for this purpose. And we'll probably be facing this as a world boss. If not that, maybe something of a dungeon boss? Probably in the tower itself? We'll just have to wait and see. Though my money is most likely on a world boss fate. We then cut away to Alphino coming in clutch with the AoE heal, as well as with our Derplander boy literally putting up a passage of arms in order to protect everyone from a serious AoE attack. We then cut to literally a roundup of just everyone posting up, ready for the fight, and I swear this shot is just absolutely glorious. We then get 2 new abilities, with Scholar using some sort of XCOG-like skill as it's throwing its page up, and then also with the White Mage having a new type of shield. Many probably don't think that this is a shield for some strange apparent reason. I mean, the effect literally gives you the exact idea that this is a shield. Probably an upgraded one. We don't really know. One thing that I do know is that it has a lot of water, a lot of extra water in comparison to many of the other water techniques that we have, as far as Fluid Aura and of course Divine Benison. So we're gonna go ahead and cut away to the last part, as many of the other stuff that we've seen is very one note and self-explanatory. One thing that is definitely not self-explanatory is the majority of things that we literally see in this freaking scene right here. Many of the enemies that we have here is literally Terminus Beast. One of the enemies that we don't actually get to see much of, other than just it standing there and getting vanquished, is this first beast-like variant of probably Eltaroite in terms of its model. And good lord, it is freaking beast as hell. But we can't focus on that too much, as we have new abilities to take a look at, and my god, they are freaking... my god, they are shiny and freaking flashy as hell. Ever has the Astrologian had their animations be flashy as all get out, and this one takes the cake. For the love of all that is holy, look at these lantern-like shapes with the freaking crescent moon inside of it, giving us a freaking effervescent moon-like shield, like full on. It is in the shape and color and the actual moon. It is literally the moon, but we can't get distracted by that too much, as if you keep on looking at that, you will miss the new single target attack that the Dragoon has that looks fairly similar to that of a full thrust, but very extra indeed, with it literally doing something that is similar to actually its old animation that it had back in the day. Like, straight up, this thing looks like it has both the animation of Ring of Thorns, good god, it's so nice to see that, along with full thrust, and it looks seriously freaking sick. Another thing that looks sick is the very potent looking attack that is probably a final combo attack of the Gunbreaker, as it does an upward strike. Some would probably think that it's maybe another burst strike, but I feel like this is probably another follow-up that we have to essentially the Brutal Shell and so on and so forth. Our 3-part combo is probably going to be expanded here. Now, one thing that I definitely love and appreciate, and the fact that this happened here definitely gives us pause for something that I am requesting in one of my latest videos that's going to be coming in the forefront, talking about the actual job changes and so on and so forth, and that has something to do with the healers, but I will be saving that for later. One thing I definitely appreciate here is this shot right here with Alphino using the very attack that he used literally from the Endwalker opening, with the freaking Newlifts literally circling around the opponent, the enemy, and just firing constant shots all over the place. But we don't stay on that ability for long, as we get to see a new form of attack from the Bard that looks wholly reminiscent to that of Refulgent Arrow, but in a conal AoE type way. I find that to be very curious. It could probably be a new upgrade to our actual AoE combo. That, or it is most definitely an proc that we have when we are using our AoE. It only gives to pause that if we are probably spamming our quick knock, then we will probably get a buff, or we will probably get a proc that allows us to use said ability. Now, one ability that has literally probably thrown all of us in a loop is Summoner having a freaking get close. This was something that I was not expecting to see, but is wholly welcome, because it definitely gives us a deep look at what we'll most likely be looking forward to with the Summoner and their new skills, possibly letting us use the actual pet abilities themselves instead of the pets using them themselves, honestly. But now we have pretty much finished with the majority of all of the actual jobs. We then cut away to Xenos literally coming into the scene. And for those who have seen most of Xenos' attacks here, probably wouldn't have thought that we actually saw anything new for Reaper, but that is not true. If you were to actually look a little bit closer into the moves that he was using, especially if you watched it slow, we have actually seen moves from the actual Reaper reveal that Xenos is using. But he also actually gives us a clue of a new skill that the Reaper will probably have as well. Let's go ahead and take a look. Now, as we can see that Xenos is literally posting up like a badass and freaking kicking Alice like it's not even an issue, screw you, and then taking just our attacks with no problem at all. It is very nice, I really gotta say, it is very nice to see this whole entire combat happening. This combat scene, this choreography is just freaking sick, and it gives us a feel of how Xenos is going to be when it comes to this weapon, and it just looks so damn good. So you already see that there was one move that Xenos used that was actually from the reveal for Reaper, with its swooping slash that it just dealt right there, and then taking a block from the Paladin's attack, getting pushed back, and then here is where we actually get to see a new skill where it has like some kind of bluish purple effect to it before he ends up pushing Alice away. We'll cut that in slow-mo just a little bit just to get a real good sense of what this skill looks like. Now, one thing that I have to say about it is that it literally has him pretty much twirling the scythe around as he is literally spinning before he literally does this pushback to Alice. Now, the pushback is most likely something that is extra from the trailer, but the initial animation is probably a skill in and of itself. And then he transitions into another skill that the Reaper actually uses. We then cut away to Xenos, literally giving us the showcase of the Reaper LB3, which I gotta say, it is everything that I have ever wanted for this LB to look. Though I had many other things in mind, this in and of itself is still badass as hell. Never did I think that we were going to literally be pulling off a serious Soul Eater freaking Kishin Hunter type attack, but I wouldn't have it any other way. One thing that I'm definitely going to like to see, however, when it comes to the job itself in comparison to what we see here with Xenos, is that given how Xenos is his own character, this aspect probably won't happen for him. But for the character in and of itself, I feel as though that there will probably be an addition to what we see here, wherein the character will transform into their full avatar mode to be able to use this attack in their LB3 state. That's one thing that I feel that will be a little bit different in comparison to what we're seeing here, is that given how the character that we will be playing as is our own character and not a model that is going to be, well, Xenos, they will probably have the LB3 be where the same thing is happening here, but we'll most likely transform into our void avatar state in order to use it, to give it that extra spice and appeal. And honestly, if they actually do that, guys, I'm gonna keel flipping over. I'm gonna flip and keel over right now, I swear. But before we actually finished everything, I actually lied, because we did see another skill other new jobs is gonna have, and that is the Sage having their own shield. As I said before, shields for days. Literally everyone's gonna be getting a shield. You get a shield, you get a shield, everyone gets a shield. But this shield is probably the most badass form of shield I have ever seen. Way better than any other freaking healer shield. I am happy that the Sage has the most badass shield out of anyone else, because I know for a damn fact that this is going to be Ezekiel's main healer. But with that, that is essentially everything. We literally finish off with the Derplander taking the LB3, freaking canceling out and doing a final clash with Xenos as he is in his flippin' resonant mode. And that's about it, my good friends. We've pretty much analyzed top to bottom of exactly everything that has happened within this trailer. Though that is technically a lie, we did not delve too much into everything within the trailer, but we will talk about some of the things that we did see here as far as many of the effects that was happening here. Now, given the fact that Yoshi P stated before that, well, we will be seeing some flashier effects, they really freaking stuck to that. I really gotta say, they really outdone themselves with these effects, and that also gives me pause with some of the old attacks getting some uplifted effects, a little bit of some touch-ups to their old skills in order to stand side to side with the Reaper with their effects that they have on their base combo. And I'm strictly speaking on the melee DPS as well as the tank. Giving them an actual facelift on their actual physical skills would definitely give us a refreshing quality of life to their actual attacks when it comes to it. So I'm definitely wondering and going to be crossing my fingers to see whether or not if they do that come time when the Job Actions trailer drops. But with that in mind, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this analysis video. This discussion is definitely one of import because we are going to be delving into this video quite a lot. I am going to be delving into this video when it comes to the next video that I will be making when it comes to my discussions on Final Fantasy XIV, that being the Job Action changes. So I hope that you guys will be anticipating that actually dropping. I will be working on that very soon, along with many other things that I have in store for you guys. But with that, I leave you to it. You have a very nice day, nice night, nice morning, nice afternoon, all that good nonsense. And I'll catch you next time. Peace out.